loving on stuff I already have, or something like that. I don't know if that's what I'm going to call it. Good Wednesday night. It is about 8:30, almost 8:40 actually. And tomorrow I took off work because I have to stay home because I've got some plumbers coming because the cold weather has caused one of the pipes in my bathroom to burst. So I'm going to be staying home with the plumbers all day tomorrow. But I really wanted to do another video in my series of loving on things I already have. So during this video, I'm going to be talking about things that have always been my style, things that I've always been attracted to and that I've always loved. I want to, in the next video or in the next two videos, to make a video or two about things that I didn't like and didn't think were part of my style until I moved into my own house and tried them and discovered they were, and then things that I've tried to like but I just don't. In terms of home decor, because that's what I like to do over here. That's my little hobby. So as I talk about the things that have always been part of my style, I will show you examples of those things. So the first thing that I have always loved since I was a little girl is fairy tale and storybook style things. Even if it's kind of drab, like I like in particular like cute little cottages in the woods. Like one of the movies that made me absolutely love just a hidden little cottage in the woods is The Sword in the Stone. My brother and I grew up watching that movie, and I loved the beginning part with Merlin whenever he was in his little cottage and he had to pack it all up into a suitcase. I wasn't too fond of him moving into the castle or whatever. But I really liked that beginning part. I just loved the well and seeing him draw the water out and walk it to his little cottage. That stirred my imagination so much. Even though it wasn't like super like pink and sparkly and pretty or anything, I really liked that. Just a little side note here, in the editing process, as I was recording the movie, The Sword in the Stone, with my phone, I kind of realized how much this movie caused me to like clutter. I think that this is where that started because, like I said, my brother and I grew up with this movie and a few others that we just watched over and over and over again. And this is one that I just loved, and probably because of the backgrounds, because of all of the books and all of the knickknacks, as well as it being a little cottage in the woods. But yeah, I think that's another part of my style that I've always just loved, is just having a lot of cluttered things together, just being maximalist with a bunch of really fun, old, unique things. Another movie that I watched growing up that really influenced my love of small, cozy spaces, even if it's not super pretty, is Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. I loved how the kids called the abandoned windmill house a castle, and they just found magic everywhere, even though they were poor, and that just really stayed with me, and I really loved that as a kid, and it really stirred my imagination. I would pretend that I didn't have any possessions or anything, and I would go digging around for treasures in our backyard, and even if it was an old rusty bolt or whatever. Something about that I've just always loved, like a secluded, cottagey, like kind of a worn down home. I really like that. I don't like things that are new and pristine. I like things that have age, even if it means it doesn't always work super well. So the old, battered, run down, like little cozy cottages, as well as the storybook cottages, like in Snow White. I'm kind of leading from fairy tale and storybook into another thing that I've always loved in real life and in decor. Is critters. Kind of like we go from Snow White's cottage to Snow White's critters. I've always loved animals when I was a kid, even little bugs. I would catch lizards. When I was a little girl, I remember we lived on a lake at one point, not on a lake, but near a lake, and I would walk down to the lake and open mussels with my fingers and let the perch eat the mussels so I could look at them. And I've always lived in the woods. There have always been deer around, and so just those kind of woodland, foresty creatures. We do have foxes, but not a lot, and they're all gray foxes, not the orange ones, and so the orange foxes have always just fascinated me. Yeah, critters, sweet little critters, woodland critters, like bunnies. We do have a lot of bunnies out here, have a lot of bunnies and deer, and that's kind of influenced the way that I decorate because I also like to have little critters around my house, as you have seen, as well as mythical ones, because I do have a unicorn hanging up in my hallway. The next little point 3, is bringing the outdoors in. Did I say that already? That's what I mean. Bringing the outdoors in, so something like a faux plants, or mushrooms. You've seen that I love mushrooms. I have them all over my house. And this was like, I liked mushrooms before they were everywhere. And so whenever my mom or my mom's best friend were out and they saw something with a mushroom on it, they would bring it back home to me like, we found you a mushroom. Because it looks lived in. It looks, whimsical and fairy tale. And I love that cottagey storybook, naturey kind of vibe. So I've always loved having the mushrooms. I do have a whole lot of them now. My collection has grown, especially since they have become so popular. But I expect that I will continue liking them after they're not a trend anymore. As well as faux plants, I'm not really a real plant person. I've never been a gardener. My mom's not a gardener. My grandmothers are not gardeners. Like, gardening is not in my lineage. Even though I would love to garden myself, I've had a little bitty garden once. I tried to keep a fern alive in my house, but it was so much work. And I do have one little aloe plant that I have alive. Well, the fern was work, and also my 2 lovely cats over here liked to play with it and chew on it, which I did not appreciate. They would get leaves all over the floor. Anyway, I've never really known how to take care of inside plants, and also I don't have a lot of light in this house, and I don't like to have the windows open a whole lot, especially, well, for several reasons. One, I like it cozy most of the time with the windows closed. That's just how I grew up. My mom always had it all dark and cozy inside. And 2, I live right on the highway. I don't want the windows open right on the highway all the time. And then 3 is, it is Texas. I live in East Texas, and it gets very, very hot, and my house would bake, and I don't have any trees. I don't have any trees around my house. I do have a big shrub, but that thing's got to go. It is wild. So not necessarily real plants. Right now, I don't really want to take care of those inside, but I do have faux plants, and I also have some rocks, some sticks, just things that I've gotten foraging, like several sticks that I have found. I'm going to show some clips. I found this stick when I was jumping around some rocks on a beach in Galveston. Those really big rocks. I found it. It's a piece of driftwood, and I love it. It's like the perfect Gandalf staff. I found this stick on the side of the road from a pine tree that fell down, and I sharpened it to be like a little pencil-looking thing, and I thought it was cool. A lot of the pine cones that I decorate with are pine cones that I have found on walks and stuff. I have a lot of acorns that I have found on walks, and I love this one. I have this blanket ladder that my friend from work made me from a tree in her yard. This is editing me again, so I can't believe I forgot to mention moss. I didn't mention moss at all. So not just things that I've collected off the side of the road or anything like that. Also just, twigs in general, like the little twig balls and the little moss balls I have a lot of. Just anything naturey, but moss. I have moss everywhere, and I've always loved moss. I can't believe I forgot to talk about moss. So acorns, pine cones, sticks, rocks. Just like cool things I find on the ground. I'll bring them in sometimes. Also, here's editing me again. Also, anything just with an outdoorsy motif, like a woods, meadow, just outside tree motif, moss motif, things that have that naturey motif to them, kind of like the trim in my living room that has all the leaves all over it. Just anything that looks naturey and brings that nature element inside. Next thing, kind of along the same vein, is anything that's wood. I love natural wood, not a fan of painted wood. For the most part. I mean, there's a place for it to kind of balance things out, but most of the wood I like to be regular wood, and I love all the different kinds of grains. And I do like stains, dark stains and light stains, but I do really like natural wood too, with just polyurethane, and I have a couple of pieces of furniture with that. The hall tree in the front by my door, I love the wood on that. I think it's tiger wood, but the grain is so pretty. The barrister bookcases that I recently got in November, the grain is so pretty on those, and I just love to look at it. And this is something that I got from my mom because my mom is very talented at redoing furniture, and when she redoes furniture, she restores furniture. And I've seen her do that all growing up, just like stripping furniture and making it look really beautiful in its natural wood. And so I've grown to really love natural wood myself, as well as like wood stumps or like faux wood. I have this thing that you see right here. That's a fake lily pad. It's like a McCoy lily pad. I think that is really pretty. It's not wood, but you get it. You get the point. It's really pretty over there. All right, so that was thing number 4. I have 2 more things, kind of 3. Yeah, let's just say 3. My next thing is glitter. I have not always liked bling, like the big old stones. I don't like that. My mom really likes that. I'm not a fan. Sequins have a place, like there are sequins on those little grapes over there, but I don't like them in abundance. But I do love glitter in abundance. I will put glitter on everything. I love it. I don't care if it gets all over my house. The more the merrier. I want it in my hair. I want it on the floor. Like, I love it. It can make a mess all at once too, if it's like gold or silver. But if it's like, you know, neon pink glitter, I'm not going to be a fan. But just like gold glittery or silver glittery things, I've always liked that kind of glitter. In my little makeup video, if you saw it, then you saw that I have the same little glitter tube that I've had since like I was like 6 or 7 doing ballet recitals, and I've loved that little tube of glitter since I was like 6 or 7. So yeah, glitter is something that I've always loved. And the next thing is textiles. So different fabrics. I like mixing fabrics. I like having, you know, velvets, and I like having quilts, and I like having fluffy things. Mainly velvets. I like fabrics that look very rich. Oh, and doilies, like the one you see over there. Do I have another one in sight? No, but I do have, under that little pear fairy house is a little just piece of fabric. When I did the Victorian box DIY, I used some fabric that I bought from an antique shop just because I thought it was pretty. It was just a scrap of fabric for $7, and it had these gorgeous jewel tone colors and deep red and deep purple and gold, and it was velvet and raised, and I just thought it was beautiful. That's something that, as long as I can remember, I've really liked. Editing me again, to be a little more specific, the thing that I've always liked is pieces of fabric, really pretty pieces of fabric, or doilies, or items of clothing or quilts or anything like that with a pretty fabric that I can use to layer within my decor. And the last thing, to make it an odd number, thing number 7 is the smells that I've always liked. And I think part of this is just growing up, how I grew up. My mom has always only used fall scents, fall and Christmas scents. So everything always smelled like caramel, smelled like pumpkin pie, smelled like creme brulee, smelled like coffee, smelled like, you know, warm vanilla spice, you know, all of these very cozy smells. And I also love the smell of pine or fir or any kind of evergreen. I love the smell of evergreen, and I love the smell of just like a cozy fall baked good. So like cozy baked goods and the woods. Like I grew up in the woods, pine trees of East Texas. That's how I grew up going. And I'm so lucky to have been one of the last generations. I'm a millennial. One of the last generations to grow up and just be sent out into the woods. Like my brother and I, we could just like leave our house and run out into the woods, and we would play in the woods all day and then run back home. And it got to the point with one house that we lived in. We lived there from the time I was in 5th grade to the time I was in freshman in high school. So quite a few years we lived at this place, and I had memorized the woods like the back of my hand, way, way back. Like the further back you go, the thicker the woods get. And there was a creek that went on for a really long time. And my grandpa, for a late birthday present one year, he bought me a tarp. That's what I wanted for my birthday. I wanted him to buy me just a big blue tarp so I could go put it somewhere in the trees, and I could have like that a roof to a little house over me, so I could hear the rain on it, and so I could have like a little fort like way out in the woods. I had already built a fort close to our house, but yeah, I also had one way out in the woods, just a simple one, just some sticks and a tarp from my grandpa. You probably don't care about this, but I also had these neon nail polishes that this lady at our church gave me that I didn't like. I guess something I've never liked also was neon colors. I didn't like wearing them, and so I took them into the woods with me, and whenever I went a new direction to kind of discover a new place, I would use it like breadcrumbs. Like I would pour a little bit of that bright neon nail polish on like the stumps, or like paint it against the tree so I could remember which way that I came. And if that didn't help, I would follow the sun. I thought of something to make it an even 8. And I'm not going to show any pictures or videos of this, but you have seen it, and that is the kind of light that I like. My mood lighting. I don't really like overhead light very much, but I do love twinkly Christmas lights, tons of night lights, lamp light, and not really that much overhead lights, and of course candles. So that is the last thing on this list that I could think of. Anyway, that's just some things about my childhood for one, and also things that I have just always loved since I was a little girl, and have just lived in my heart and become a part of my style as I've grown up, and as I've gotten my own room, and then I've gotten my own apartment, not apartment, but dorm, and then I've gotten my own home, and just those are things that have inspired me in the spaces that I am creating as a grown person. So that is all. Oh, I really enjoyed talking about all the things in this video, and I just know I'm going to enjoy editing it and putting in a bunch of clips and pictures, and I really hope you liked it too. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one if you watch the next one. Bye.